One thing that I've realized about my life and about life in general is that life is a lot of no's. It's predominantly no's. The majority of decisions that you get will be no's. No's about career opportunities, no's about decisions regarding school, relationships, whatever. What I have noticed is the people who tend to be more ambitious or more successful, they process the no's differently. And this is something that I personally do, that I kind of like thought about and put together recently. So when you get a no, it's not about how many no's that you get. It's about what you do with that information and how much weight you put on that no. So if you get a no and you say, oh man, like I didn't get into medical school. I guess it's over for me. I'm not going to apply again. Or I didn't get into this one particular medical school. And so for me, when I was coming through college and medical school, even when I was applying to medical school, I tried to make sure that I applied. I think I applied to like 9 medical schools, and I never really had the idea of, even though I did have a dream school, I never really had the idea of I will not go to medical school unless I get A, B, C, D, as far as like MD, DO, a certain institution, whether it's a smaller program or a top 10 program. I never really had that. I was just like, well, I just want to go to medical school because a bird in the hand is a bird in the hand. And also, when you become an attending, they're not going to differentiate based on what school you went to, based on whether you have an MD or DO, only based on your specialty and how much that specialty gets as far as their RVUs. And so for me, I never put too much weight on no's. And I think when we were coming through college, it seems like, based on the people who have been talking on here about their college experience, we all had that med school advisor that was like, you're probably not going to get in. And like 90% of us got in, which is crazy. And so I feel like if we would have, I always think to myself, I'm like, what if we would have listened to our advisors and just given up on medical school? But I also remember being in college and being in pre-med, and after the first semester, 70% of the freshmen were done with pre-med. They went to different specialties. They decided they didn't want to do it for the long haul. And I think that a big factor in getting through medicine, getting through even college, getting into medical school, going through residency, and then going into fellowship is about how you process those no's. So the way that I process the no's is, one, you take the constructive criticism, emphasis on constructive. If they can give you measurable criticism that is constructive, that will help you, and give you tips on how to improve, I would absolutely take that advice. However, just because they tell you no does not mean that it is impossible. So what you do is you don't even give it 50% weight. You take the constructive criticism and you say, okay, moving forward, I'm going to move this way. And you continue to refine. But the thing is, you don't put any weight on the no. Just because you got a no does not mean that you don't have a good idea. It does not mean that you are not going to get into medical school. It does not mean that you are not going to match into fellowship. It does not mean any of those things. When you take the constructive criticism, you search ambitiously for your yes. And I think it's the same thing with like relationships. I always find it odd when random people or people who are close to people, like maybe a certain person has a higher standard and they say, oh, well, you should probably lower your standards because like that's going to be impossible to find. There are a lot of no's in the dating pool. There are a lot of no's everywhere, but you search ambitiously for your yes, and you refine as you go and add more stuff to the list, take stuff off of the list if you want. But you don't put too much weight on what that person just said. Like, girl, I'm not about to lower my standards because you think that what I'm shooting for is too high. And so being in residency, if you get a no in residency for fellowship, if you get people in your life or attendings or whoever, if they give you a no and they give you constructive feedback, you take that feedback and then you move forward and pursue your yes. So I have never, ever given up based on what someone has told me I can or can't do, because once I set my mind to something, that is what I'm going to do. So I take the improvement feedback and I try to refine myself over time. But if it's I search for the people who will say yes to me. If somebody tells me no and they don't believe that I can reach the goal that I know that I can meet, it's okay. Like, you're not a good fit for a support person. You're not a good fit for a mentor. That's perfectly fine, because my ideal mentor would be someone who gives me a yes and who is able to support me in getting that yes. So it's not, one person giving you a no, they're a bad person. No, maybe they just don't know how to support you specifically, because everybody's different and everybody's going to mesh differently. So I take the constructive criticism, I take the feedback, and I'm like, okay, well, where's my mentor? Where's the person who's going to tell me yes? And every single time I find people who, even though everybody has people in their life, I have people in my life who tell me no, and I can't do that for you, or I can't be that for you, or I don't think you can do that. And every single time I will keep searching and I will find somebody that's like, you can absolutely do this, and let me show you how to do it, and let's get on this paper together and how we're going to do it, and we're going to do it this way, this way, this way, this way, and you're going to be great, and blah, blah, blah. You need people in your life who tell you, heck yeah, hell yeah. So look for those people. My very good friend who, he's also a physician, he went out a little bit earlier than me. He told me something that has stuck with me. You only need one yes. That business idea, you only need one yes. For one investor to invest for your first launch, you only need one yes for medical school, and you take it and you go. You only need one person to say, like, okay, I see this, I can support you, I can write this letter for you, because I believe that you can do this. You only need one yes. So life is mostly no's. Take the feedback, put 10% weight on it, and move forward and ambitiously search for your yes, because when you get that yes, when you get that feedback, when you get the support that you need, it will be worth all of the no's. So you have to keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. If everybody says no, if all the doors are closed, the next idea is you create your own door, and you create your own room, and you create your own thing, and you go and you build that thing, and then you present it to people, and then they probably want to come online because it's a new idea and you just created it. So I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.